Well, last season 12th, this season 12th. But is there more to it?
Way so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Hey gang, what's going on? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. Chelsea news, I guess. Well, welcome back to the channel. We're going to talk about, are we doing the right thing or the wrong thing at the club at the moment? Of course, big on discussion point social media, content creators talking about it. I saw Rory Jennings did a video, is Todd Boehly ruining Chelsea? A lot of people are upset with him, and I can understand why. We are 12th, we finished 12th last season, and we don't score goals. Now, maybe that's echoes of a long-term problem at Chelsea, but we're going to talk about it all here, holistically. The stuff he's done wrong, and why people are upset with the trajectory of Chelsea. Easy for me to say, of Chelsea. Perhaps the things he's done right, a lot of this stuff, was it inevitably coming anyway? Or has the new, inexperienced owners accelerated us to these negative outcomes? Strap yourselves in, boys and girls. Pour yourself a drink. Get comfortable. It's going to be a good video, hopefully. So thank you for your support. Daily content on the other channel, Football Yannick as well. The other guy. Feel free to go check that out. All right. So, people are always accusing me of being eternally optimistic and too positive. So, should we start with the negatives and then we can move into the positives? Because, yeah, I always get crucified for not being miserable, which is an interesting approach on things. Look, Todd Boehly and Clear Lake Capital are new owners in European football. They've thrown their weight around, they've shown their faces, and they've been a figure of fun, largely due to massive investment into the squad. Now, it's funny how you word things, because if you say massive investment into the squad, that can only be received, certainly by Chelsea fans, as a positive thing. Because if you look at, fans of other clubs, when they're usually upset with their owners, it's because they're not spending. Investment sounds positive. Spend doesn't always. So you could say they've become figures of fun due to their incredible or ludicrous spend. You could say heavy investment into Chelsea or ludicrous spend. It's funny how you can spin these things in the media, isn't it? It's just how you assert yourself to drive an outcome. They have made mistakes and they've changed their minds about loads of things. Firstly, Chelsea was seized as an asset and sold by the Rain Bank Group. Now, I maintain, and even those of you who rightly are questioning the new owners, if you looked at the potential alternatives, it weren't good. Like Ricketts family, etc. What we did get in these owners, we'll talk about the negatives properly, but in terms of what we did get, we got guys who are willing to attend all the games, be fully emotionally invested in Chelsea, and want to be there, not just want to be absent owners in a faraway country, not spending. They're like, no, we're going to put money in and we're going to be here. But they've done stuff wrong. Clearly, they wanted a clear house at Chelsea. They wanted to sweep everyone away and start again, right? And they did it way too quickly. Look, we're not going to ruminate on Thomas Tuchel because, by all accounts, there are very big, very real reasons why he had to go. So that's fine. Mistakes, probably just generally getting rid of too much staff. I understand how you need, if when you own a new business, you need to build a new board. They built a new board, they brought in, but the definitely, I'd say a mistake is sweeping away all the medical staff too quickly. Of course, we've got loads of injuries. I think you have to link those two together. That is definitely like a negative. Maybe lots of people that supported both Kai Havertz and Mason Mount, respectively, were really upset that those players got pushed out or put up for sale. Granted, neither have had a good start at their new clubs, and maybe actually in hindsight, people think it's not like, Kai Havertz was a prolific goal scorer and now we've got goal scoring problems, but still, they were putting people up for sale, pew, 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 real quickly. In hindsight, I don't have a problem with it, and we'll talk about that in the positives, but that's another reason why people could be upset. So clearing house too quickly. A mistake was Graham Potter. In hindsight, and I can say with 2020 vision, well, I'm actually wear glasses, but hindsight is 2020, that Potter was a mistake. They came in all data heavy. They were appalled the lack of data at Chelsea Football Club, which is probably largely true, but there's probably also this naivety of coming from other sports, like, what, you don't use data? Where's all the data? Right, let's just data everything. And who's on an upwards trend? Beep, 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 beep. Brighton. Now, this is probably a very, very real negative, a very real con against the pros, is our weird intrinsic relationship with Brighton. It's almost like they spent a night out with Brighton one night, did some heavy chemicals and was like, fell in love with Brighton and just said, we need to be Brighton. I don't know where that came from. Yes, they're good overachieving, and again, this is probably all data-led. There's this model that they've developed, and they are just doing so well, like way too well for what they should be doing, Brighton. So Chelsea come along, these new owners, and they're like, wow, let's emulate that model, but with mass investment, and that will just grow exponentially. Things don't work like that. The model probably suits them for a reason. So the whole Brighton relationship in its totality, for me, is a negative, whether it's Cucurella, whether it's all the Brighton staff, including Potter. It's even, to a degree, Caicedo. I like Caicedo. I'm happy we got him and he suits the role. But this like long-term thing of chasing just him, did we need to do it in hindsight? That's something that definitely be questioned. Look, Potter, it was a nice idea. I was thinking, oh, maybe finally, this attacking manager, I'm an Englishman. It would be nice to see an Englishman win the Premier League, just from my personal perspective. And he's a nice guy, and I'm just so tired of knobheads in the game. But you need a bit of a knobhead, I'm sorry. And that has to be a mistake. Look, I kind of respect that they threw the dice and gambled. A lot of people did, non-Chelsea people like, pundits and broadcasters were like, oh, that's good, they're giving him a chance, and this guy's on an upward trend, and let's see how he can do at Chelsea. And, and what was very telling is Chelsea's rivals was like, don't go to Chelsea, because they probably liked Graham Potter. But it didn't work, and it was a mistake, and it was a very expensive mistake. And you have to say, it was like 7 months putting Chelsea backwards. Again, this is not saying we should have kept Tuchel. I have an authority that he should have definitely gone. But he was a mistake. Potter was a mistake. And of course, there's all the other little things in between that you have to say is negative, like going to the dressing room with Mudryk when... Was that when Tuchel was still there? Or no? Was it when he was still there? I can't remember. Anyway, when they were bringing players to the dressing room and they were going down at halftime, big no-no. You should have done your due diligence in football culture. Look, I really like how they want to be involved, but yeah, they were walking around like they own the place. You know what I mean, though? There's a lot of stuff that there's just emanating naivety. Now, I'm going to switch over to the positives because I've been doing nearly 9 minutes of negatives. But their naivety is kind of like a teething issue that was just always going to be there. Like, I maintain, out of all the prospective owners that were going to buy Chelsea, we got the best out of Todd Boehly and Clear Lake by far. And I'll tell you why. Aforementioned, they want to be involved. They don't want to be the Cronkies high off in the tower somewhere, or the Glazers. They want to be, I want to be at the games cheering Chelsea on, wearing the scarves, making the team better. Massive tick. And they're putting money into the first team, in the women's team, in the redevelopment of Stamford Bridge. Massive. I mean, those two alone, bang, bang, you have to be like, great. Now, let's talk about the objective facts, how... we've obviously been bad. We've been really bad. Lots of... Look, I always say this, but I do feel like covering Chelsea, looking closely, looking at the lack of infrastructure and looking at the fallout, the residual problems of previous managerial regimes. Like, I play this system, I get these players, you're fired. I play this system, I play these players and style, you're fired. And then you're left with an amalgamation of like weird, expensive, overpaid players that don't fit each other. They're looking to do a long-term system with continuity where players don't get overpaid and they all have similar pay. They've all got an incentivized contracts, which is massive. That's something I've been calling for a long time. I always used to use Harry Kane as an example. His basic wasn't that mental at Tottenham and his latest contract, but he had such heavy incentivized bonuses. He earned so much money because he scored so many goals. So, you're a defender, keep clean sheets, mate, you'll get more money. You're a striker, score goals, mate, you make more money. Bang, it's just basic stuff, incentivized bonuses. They've implemented that. They've cleared the deck of players that are from different regimes and different, inclinations, and they're starting again with young players to build from the ground up. This is all positive. I know it hurts right now, but you have to look at the long term, and in theory, it's the right thing to do, largely. Maybe they've gone too much with this and that, and they should have kept a couple of these around or whatever. But in terms of the general long-term ethos, it's the right thing to do in a business sense, but ultimately in a football club sense as well, because it should offer you stability. Granted, the only stability we've been enjoying at the moment is 12th place. But I do think it's a long time coming. I think Tuchel was, even before the end, the Champions League run was amazing, but we were awful in the league. We somehow fell into top 4. We lost the FA Cup final to Leicester, and we just put in a really good performance in the final against City, and deservedly won that game if you look at all the stats. So amazing. You have to look at Tuchel and just thank him. But if you look at the data, the performances, we were awful for so long. Again, the players, the dysfunction, the incompatibility of certain players, we're trying to patch them up by playing certain formations. Now it's no, you've got this position, you've got 2 young players that are going to be there for ages that can be developed in the same style. Long-term planning. I've said it before, the board that Todd Boehly and Clear Lake Capital have put together is a board fit for purpose. Goldstein, development of the new Stamford Bridge, Barbara Sharon and Finkelstein, different industry professionals but lifelong Chelsea fans, and have the Chelsea fans at heart on the board. Appropriate representatives. I always say Roman Abramovich's board was just a bunch of his mates, and it was. He brought in his lawyer, he brought in this guy, Bark was in there, and just a bunch of his mates that he brought in from his different jobs and companies, and it was just for too long Chelsea was vibes and money, and it was just not working anymore. It hadn't worked since the last 6 years. So a fit for purpose board, I've been calling out for that, and sporting directors, I've been calling out for that before. I've spoken at length about, we haven't had a sporting director since Emanalo. He was a technical director, but he did us so much good. So sporting directors, positive. Having just an infrastructure, a proper management team, it's all what I wanted in theory, long-term planning and infrastructure and investment. We've had it all. There's naivety from the owners, like I said, going into the dressing room, maybe doing things too quickly. But the fact how they want to be there, and they don't want to asset strip. In fact, they want to invest and make Chelsea better and make the women's team better and, all this kind of stuff. It's been very much breaking eggs to make an omelette, because you've had to see academy boys go, Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, and people like Kovacic and Kante, maybe his time was done, but Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante, they won the Champions League. But Chelsea were just seeing a different path now, a path for long-term, sustainable. Look, we weren't scoring that many goals before, we're not scoring that goals now. And if this goes on, you have to criticise the owners, because it stops with them, doesn't it? But at the moment, in terms of what they've done so far, mistakes and all, I generally give my blessing to the philosophy and the theory of what's working. Obviously, I'm a Chelsea fan. I want to see Chelsea Football Club win football matches, and that's paramount. In fact, that's the most primitive, instinctive thing. When you don't have that, you don't get the dopamine hit, you don't get the feel-good chemicals or the oxytocin, whatever all the happy chemicals are in your body. You get, frustrated, and that's what you're left with. So that's ultimately what it boils down to. That's why we watch football. That's why we go to a game. That's why we, watch it on the TV or whatever. But for someone who looks at Chelsea closely and meticulously as a job, and, Chelsea fan all my life, and, all this kind of stuff, then you kind of look past these recent frustrations, the last sort of, 6-7 years or whatever, since we won the league. Because the one, for me, winning the league is the barometer of a good team. Champions League is great, and it shows you that you've got European pedigree and culture, which is nice to flaunt against our London rivals. But to know you're an actual good football team is how you do in your domestic league. And since Conte won it, we've just not had the midfield, we've just not had the system, and even Conte brought so much drama with the Costa stuff and the second season. I know he won the FA Cup, but he was pretty much protesting against Roman Abramovich by making certain substitutions. All this just unnecessary drama. Bring like a sustainable way of playing football and managing a football team, and then you're going to be closer to Manchester City or, you know, whatever, like a European giant that win all the time. So it's been really, really, although Chelsea have done a lot of the things that I dreamt them to do for a long time under the new ownerships, with huge investment, and you heard, like, for me, our greatest ever player, Frank Lampard, who obviously had some time speaking to the owners, even though Frank was doing very, very bad at the time, but it turned, you know, he'll tell you the players are very unfit as well. But he's talked about the new owners, Potter, Pochettino, Lampard. They were like, yeah, their intentions are immense. These guys want to stay here, they want to be present, and they want to, like, you know, invest loads of money and make Chelsea very good. And you're hearing that from, you know, this external ambitious manager, or the ambitious move of Potter coming to Chelsea. Frank Lampard, he's just there for a minute. He doesn't give a crap. In fact, he said none of these players are fit. You're all losers when he left. That's how much he was, like, on his way out saying that. But he was, no, don't worry, Chelsea fans. These owners have got the right idea, you know? Same with Pochettino, even Tuchel. Tuchel didn't like them because he didn't want to be in contact with them, basically. He wanted Roman Abramovich back, who was just an absent figure, but they wanted to be involved with the manager and say, look, you've got to be part of our project, the long-term project, which again might grind certain fans, but ultimately the intentions there are right. As you can see, I'm still on the side of the owners, and probably will be for a long, long time, because, you know, mid-30s, I've known Chelsea not being good as well, and in terms of knowing the football landscape of what's needed for success, it kind of all makes sense. I think they will get it right in the end, but at the same time, like the first half of this video, they've done a lot wrong. But were they going to be perfect? I'm not sure. Chelsea are used to success under Roman Abramovich, spoiled in many ways, but the landscape changed and the requirements for success changed as well, and that's what we got. The space we got to move into. So yeah. Let me know what you think, guys. Please be measured and analytical about your football opinions if you can, especially while the games are not on, so you don't get swept away. I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Do go check out Football Yannick for additional content. Take care of yourselves.